All right, let's kick off this deep dive. We got a really interesting request from a listener to take a closer look at Nintendo stock.
Always a fun one.
Definitely. So they sent in this article from the Motley Fool. It's titled, 3 Reasons Why I Bought More Nintendo Stock in 2025. Sounds promising, right?
Yeah, 2025 has been a pretty good year for them so far.
For sure. But, we got to dig deeper. We're going to break down each of those reasons and see if this bullishness is really justified. What might this mean for anyone listening who's thinking about, jumping on the Nintendo train?
Let's find out.
Okay, so reason number 1, they call it movie magic. The article, it just gushes about how successful the Super Mario Bros. Movie was.
Yeah.
Like over $1 billion at the box office in 2023. Crazy, right?
Yeah, it really took everyone by surprise.
But here's the thing. Is that a sustainable strategy for Nintendo? Like, is it just a one-off hit or...
Well, I think it's more than just a random movie success story. This is about Nintendo leveraging their intellectual property, which is massive.
Oh, yeah, their characters are iconic.
Yeah. Exactly. Mario, Luigi, Peach, these are characters that resonate across generations. The movie introduced them to a whole new audience, not just gamers. It's like expanding their brand in a really smart way.
Oh, that's a good point. It's not just about the box office numbers. It's about...
long-term brand building.
Exactly. And speaking of the future, isn't there a sequel already in the works?
Yep. Super Mario Bros. 2, hitting theaters in April 2026.
Oh, I can't wait. And, sequels to big blockbuster films, they often do even better than the original.
Right, and then you've got all the merchandising opportunities, toys, clothes, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's like a whole Mario-themed economic explosion. Okay, let's move on to the second reason this author is so high on Nintendo. And honestly, this one gets me excited too, theme parks.
Ah, yes. Super Nintendo World. They've popped up at the Universal Studios parks, and they're incredibly popular.
I bet.
What's really interesting here is it's not just Nintendo doing their own thing. They partnered up with Comcast, Universal's parent company. It seems like a win-win for both.
Totally. Actually, the author mentioned how packed the Nintendo area was at Universal Studios Hollywood. And I heard there's a new one opening in Florida pretty soon.
Yeah, in just a few months, actually. May 2025. Universal's Epic Universe. This one's going to be huge. 3 rides instead of just 1, and it's part of a brand new park.
Wow, the first major theme park to be built in the U.S. in, 2 decades?
Something like that. There's definitely a lot of buzz around it.
So not only is Nintendo getting those sweet, sweet licensing fees from Universal,
Right.
but they're also getting a cut of all the merch and food sales. Genius.
It's a really smart way to diversify their revenue streams, that's for sure. Create these immersive experiences that go way beyond just playing a game.
Totally. All right, let's not forget the big kahuna. The reason that could really make Nintendo stock explode.
You talking about the Nintendo Switch 2?
You know it. The article says it's coming out late 2025. That's a full 8 years after the original Switch. Does that even make sense? Does that timeline line up with their past consoles?
Well, let's see. The Wii came out in 2006, followed by the Wii U in 2012, and then the Switch in 2017. So yeah, the timing seems to track.
Okay, so they're consistent with that.
But Nintendo isn't like Sony or Microsoft. They're not just about slightly better graphics every few years. They always try to innovate.
And that's what I love about them. Any idea what the Switch 2 might actually be like?
Who knows? There are always rumors floating around, but Nintendo is really good at keeping things under wraps.
True. So how are we supposed to, know anything?
Well, they did say they'll spill the beans at their Nintendo Direct event on April 2nd.
April 2nd. Got it. Marking my calendar. Can't miss that.
It's going to be a big one for sure.
Okay, before we get lost in Switch 2 speculation land, let's talk about something the article touched on, Nintendo's overall financial health. They've had a few revenue dips lately, but apparently they're still turning a profit and sitting on a pile of cash.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people overlook. It's a testament to their stability, even when the gaming industry is kind of shaky.
So they're not some, flash in the pan. They've got a real solid base. But how does that actually translate to their stock? What does that mean for investors?
That's where it gets interesting. You see, when you look at their enterprise value, which includes their market cap minus their debt, it's actually lower than their market cap alone. That's because they have so much cash.
Okay, so for someone like me who doesn't, live and breathe finance, what does that actually mean? Break it down.
It's a sign that Nintendo could be undervalued. Their stock, even though it's up 23% this year, might not be reflecting their true value.
Really? Interesting. That's good news for anyone looking to, get in on that action.
Yeah.
But there's always a risk, right? What if the Switch 2 flops? or the movie sequel isn't as good.
Yeah, those are definitely things to consider. No investment is risk-free.
Yeah.
But Nintendo's got a history of innovation. They've been around forever, adapting to changes.
They always seem to bounce back. I remember the Wii U, not their best moment.
Right.
But then they came out swinging with the Switch.
Exactly. And the article mentioned something else that caught my eye, their dividend.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's not massive right now, but
But it has the potential to grow. As they become more profitable, especially with the Switch 2 and those movies, they'll likely share more of that profit with shareholders.
dividends. It's like a bonus on top of, the stock going up.
Exactly. When you combine that with their financials and all these upcoming projects, things are looking pretty good for Nintendo.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. The movie, the theme parks, the Switch 2, their financials. For someone who's seriously thinking about buying Nintendo stock, like right now, what's the takeaway?
Well, it seems like even with their stock doing well this year, there's a strong argument that it's still undervalued.
So even at the current price, it could be a good buy.
It's possible. But of course, any investment decision should be made after you do your research and consider your own financial goals and all that.
Right, of course. We're just here to, give you the info.
Exactly. And it's important to remember the gaming industry goes through cycles. There are ups and downs. Which brings up a pretty interesting question.
Wait, on all ears.
Given those cycles and the fact that the Switch 2 hype is building, could now be the perfect time to invest in Nintendo, before the stock really takes off.
That's a good question. It's like trying to time the market, but with Nintendo's own unique patterns and the anticipation for the Switch 2.
It's a complex situation for sure, but that's what makes investing so interesting. It's not just about the numbers. It's about understanding the whole story, the potential, and the risks.
And that's what we've tried to do today. We looked at this Motley Fool article, really broke it down, and hopefully giving you some things to think about.
We talked about how powerful Nintendo's intellectual property is with the movie, the theme parks, and how all of that, plus the Switch 2, could lead to some big financial wins for them.
I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty good about Nintendo's future after this.
I get that. They have an impressive track record, and the potential is definitely there. But the decision to invest or not, that's up to you, our listener.
Absolutely. We've given you the knowledge, the insights, hopefully sparked your curiosity. Now it's your turn to do your own research, weigh the pros and cons, and decide if Nintendo fits into your financial plans.
We've given you the tools. Now go use them.
Well said. And until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and happy investing.
It's amazing how Nintendo has managed to, stay relevant for so long. They've done it all. Arcade games, home consoles, mobile games. And now they're crushing it with movies and theme parks.
It's pretty remarkable. It shows how well they understand their audience. They're not afraid to adapt and try new things.
Yeah, and they always manage to capture that, nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they feel fresh and new.
Exactly. It's a tough balance to strike.
It really is. I mean, who would have thought a Mario movie in 2023 would become one of the biggest animated movies ever? Right. It shows the power of those characters and that world that Nintendo's created. And, it's not an accident. They're very strategic.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're diversifying, finding new ways to make money, and reaching new audiences.
And it all feels authentic to their brand. It's not like they're just chasing trends.
They're trendsetters. It's what makes them so interesting, both as a company and, for investors.
Speaking of investing, what are some of the key things our listeners should keep in mind before making a decision on Nintendo stock?
Well, first, I'd say dive into their financials. Don't just focus on those revenue dips.
Right.
Look at their profitability, how much cash they have, their debt levels, all of that.
Those are the real indicators of how healthy a company is.
Exactly. And don't just rely on headlines or what analysts are saying.
Mm-hmm.
Actually read through their financial statements, understand their business model, their long-term goals.
Do your homework.
Exactly. And then think about yourself, your investment goals, how much risk you're comfortable with. Are you in it for the long haul?
Yeah, those are important questions to ask before investing in anything, not just Nintendo.
Absolutely. And investing, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a marathon.
Patience.
Exactly. And hey, don't be afraid to talk to a financial advisor if you need some guidance.
That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
So I think we've pretty much covered everything about Nintendo. We went through that Motley Fool article, looked at their business strategy, their financials. Hopefully you listening out there have enough information to decide if you want to invest in this gaming giant.
Yeah, it's been a great deep dive.
I agree. Always learn so much from these conversations. And to everyone listening, until next time, remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So keep learning, keep exploring, and happy investing.